ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Chicago Cubs, world champions, 108 years. Celebrate beating the Indians back-to-back in Cleveland. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by the New York Strip and Four Roses Bourbon at Shapley's Steakhouse in Ridgeland. Visit shapleysrestaurant.com to make a reservation. Twitter handle @BowBounds. You'll want to go to Twitter if you want to win a Fish Hippie hat from Circle 7 or an Echo Duck Call. We're giving away 3 Fish Hippie hats and 3 Echo Duck Calls separately, by the way. So we'll have 6 winners today. That's pretty cool. Compliments of Circle 7 and their big fall shirt and jacket sale, which is today only. Some of it's 2 for 1. Jackson, you still upset that your Indians got beat?
Yeah, I am. But hey,
man, you are pouting over there.
Not. I mean, look, I grew up. I liked Roberto Alomar Jr. That was my favorite player.
I did like
That was
Roberto
probably
Alomar.
my favorite player. I kind of like the Indians.
Huh?
A little part of me liked the Indians.
I like Kenny Lofton.
Loved Kenny Lofton. Loved David Justice.
Boy, Justice bounced around,
He did,
man.
He did, but I liked him.
He
a
also
lot.
dated Halle Berry, which is pretty cool.
Sticky situation there. And Sandy Alomar. I mean, look, I had a lot. I like the Indians, and to see them lose like
well,
that.
next guest beat him,
Yeah.
so we'll bring him in. Jay Powell, All-American at Mississippi State, out of the Meridian area, and then was the winner in the 1997 World Series over the Cleveland Indians. He joins us on the New Belgium Fat Tire Hotline. Jay, good morning. Welcome in.
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing?
Man, we're doing great. What a series, huh? How cool was that?
That was a classic, and I'm sure you guys are like me. You're working on short sleep and everything else, but it was, it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable for me to sit and watch it, and I didn't miss a pitch of it.
Oh, golly, I was locked in. Before we get to your experience in '97, what was the fastest you ever threw the ball, Jay?
I got clocked one time, and I remember in Miller Park at 98. And, I was consistently probably, 93, 95 in that area. But, it seems like nowadays everybody that comes out of a bullpen throws 97 to 98.
Isn't that amazing? That's remarkable.
It really is. It really is. When Billy Wagner was one of the hardest throwers, he was my closer when I was a setup man with the Astros. And Billy was, I've seen him hit 100, seen him hit 101 once. But to see the guys now, and it's just, I don't know, man. You wonder at some point you're going to kind of reach a peak, but, to see so many great arms coming out of these bullpens is pretty impressive.
World Series champion Jay Powell on the Out of Bounds Show got the win for the Marlins in '97 over the Indians. Jay, when did you start consistently throwing 93 plus? What age?
When I got to Mississippi State, I showed signs of when I was in high school. It was kind of weird. I always pitched a lot on emotion as far as adrenaline, and I think that's what kind of pushed me in the bullpen. But I had games in high school where I would show it, 90 to 92, but consistently, my freshman year when I got to Mississippi State, that was when I kind of got to where, in high school you're running around so much and doing things, but I got up there and I got on a good weight program and I gained about 25 pounds and I went to consistently throwing in the mid-90s at that point.
Last night, as you watched the game and the ebb and flow and everything that goes on to win a title, knowing that you had played in an extra inning game in the World Series and won that game, and then you guys get the hit to win it. Take me through that game and your nerves and your emotions when you were pitching against the Indians in '97.
Well, it was kind of odd. You keep thinking that, I'd pitched in about 80-something games by the time we'd hit the World Series, almost 90. And, your adrenaline kicks in and everything. But, from a physical standpoint, my stuff was starting to decline. I was kind of running on fumes. And, but, people ask me all the time, are you nervous? And I say, it's a lot worse sitting there watching it. It really is. Once you get out on the mound and get out and you're a part of it, you honestly, it's not necessarily relaxing, but you feel like, all right, now I'm kind of know what I'm doing. Now I'm, I can contribute. Now I'm in a comfort zone, so to speak. So the worst part of it, no doubt, was sitting there watching and having to sit in the bullpen and watch us, come down to 2-1 and going into the bottom of the ninth inning, and then getting the hit. I think it was Charles Johnson got the single to tie it, and then being able to win in the 11th inning.
Jay Powell, World Series champion, Florida Marlins. We're talking about his experience on the mound. He got the win in that game. And then what happened last night with the Cubs and the Indians. And we had great plays and great players on both teams. Jay, did you know, how about this? How confident were you that night that you would get the ball at some point during the game?
Well, I felt like at some point, I pitched in, I think that was the fourth of the 7 games I pitched in. And, I knew at some point, and they had already got an MRI scheduled, for my shoulder and everything else after the season. So, I think there was a little bit of, maybe we can blow him out and stay away from him. But I knew at some point I was probably going to have to get the ball. And that's just the way it is. It's all hands on deck. And that's kind of what you saw in this series. I mean, with Lester going out there and those guys, and I tell you, man, it really, whatever bonus Joe Madden gets as far as part of his playoff share, he needs to split it up with his players, his share, because those guys bailed him out last
twice.
Night, and he's a great manager. I take nothing away from him, but watching it, I'm sitting there going, you got a man on first base with 1 out. Why in the world are you taking out Hendricks? He's just, it's just, I felt there were certain times to where he could extended certain guys. And look, I know you say you don't leave a bullet in the gun in the last game. I get all that. But, then the squeeze play 3-2 or the safety squeeze, I mean, it's just, bunting is kind of a lost art anyway in the big leagues.
Right.
And you putting guys in situations to where, his job as a manager is to put guys in situations to be successful. And I think last night there was a couple times to where, I don't want to say he didn't do that. That's not fair to Joe, because he's a great manager. But at the same time, I mean, he was asking a lot out of Chapman, and I just, he could have left Hendricks in and maybe got another out.
Jay, Smoltz agreed with you. I mean, Smoltz doesn't ever want to just dog a manager on the air, but he said, you heard him. He said, wow, that was a quick hook when he went out to, I mean, Hendricks. You know about this much more than I do. You've been on the mound. You know when you're in rhythm. It looked to me like Jay had command of both his fastball and his breaking ball and was hitting both sides of the plate, and then Madden decided to pull him. And Smoltz was confused or questioning it.
Yeah, Smoltz made a great comment. I think it was Smoltz, it may have been Buck, but they said, you never want to do a favor to the other team. Mm-hmm. And when he took out Hendricks, as good as Lester is, I mean, you kind of saw the rhythm leave. You saw everything, because not only are you taking Hendricks out of the game, now you're taking your starting catcher out of the game. So you put Ross in there. I mean, it's just, I was the same way. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Bases or 2 guys on, tie and run at the plate, maybe, because there's times when that game is won and lost in the 5th, 6th, 7th inning. I get that, but it was a quick hook, and like I said, I thought his players bailed his tail out twice.
He is Jay Powell on the Out of Bounds Show, All-American pitcher at Mississippi State out of West Lauderdale, and then won the World Series. He was the winner in that World Series when the Marlins beat the Indians in 1997. That game went 11 innings. Jay, what do you think about this stat? Because we've heard about small ball, and then, of course, can you go yard? Can you hit enough home runs? In the postseason, the team that hit more home runs, 27-1. I mean, and last night, the Cubs hit 2 home runs and the Indians hit 1 home run. So small ball is all but dead at the Major League Baseball level, Jay.
Well, it's yeah, I would agree with that. And I think, what you saw last night is it starts in the minor leagues too. Guys, when you used to come up in the minor leagues, one thing you'd have to do is be able to handle the bat before they moved you up. And, you're not going to wait on Chris Bryant to learn how to handle the bat and bunt to move him up. And, there's just those things are slowly kind of dying out of the game. And, with a guy like me that's, an older guy, he said, well, that's a shame. But at the same time, 80,000 people don't come to a game to watch somebody get down a 2-1 sacrifice bunt.
Right.
But, so I get it. But at the same time, it's I agree. I mean, I think that's part of the game's getting phased out. And you get in a series like last night and you see somebody not get the bunt down. Or, there were so many times you watch the second baseman, Kipnis, for the Indians on the double play feed that the shortstop bailed him out.
Right.
He didn't pop his hips. He kind of just winged it over there and sailed it to him. I mean, there were certain times where you're as a player / coach, you're watching, you're like, man, that's fundamentally that was poor, but he got away with it.
Jay Powell on the Out of Bounds show, Major League Baseball pitcher on the New Belgium Fat Tower Hotline, talking Cubs and Indians in a great postseason. MLB needed it. The Cubs win it, break the 108-year curse. Jay, as far as the lineup, you mentioned Hendricks and how talented he is, and there's so many arms, Kluber among others, Allen and Chapman and so on, that are very, very talented guys. But as far as the lineup for the Cubs, which hitter do you just look at and go, man, he's filthy? Fowler, Rizzo, Zobrist. I mean, all these guys are very, very talented, and I think the median age is 26 on the team.
Right. The one guy, if I was pitching, that I would not want to face is Zobrist.
Okay.
And, just from the simple fact of watching his swing and how long his bat stays in the hitting zone, I mean, I never had a problem facing Sosa, McGuire. Those guys never bothered me. The guys that, the Barry Larkins and the guys that just were short swings and just, last night I thought with Rizzo and Shaw, I said that's not a bad matchup because Rizzo's right on the plate, Shaw throws a bunch of cutters. I said, it's a good chance he's either going to take somebody out at the first base dugout or he's going to jam himself and get out. And then when they intentionally walked him, I got it. He set up the double play. But, Zobrist is tough out, man. He's tough. That would be the guy that I would, I think would be a tough out for any pitcher.
Man, you just dropped Barry Larkin. That's one of my favorite players of all time, Jay Powell. I mean,
he was a good one, man. And those are the guys as pitchers, and really, we're lucky to look around the state of Mississippi, even Jackson. We have so many old ex-professional athletes, but you talk to some of these guys and people talk the toughest guy you ever fought. Well, of course Barry Bonds was up there, but you get guys like a Barry Larkin and just there's certain guys that just were just tough outs, and you can tell Zobrist is that way.
Jay Powell on the Out of Bounds show, kind enough to spend some time with us today as the Cubs break the curse, 108 years. Who were you, if anybody, who were you rooting for?
Well, I guess a little bit of me wanted the Indians to win. Mickey Callaway's a friend of mine and is a pitching coach up there, and
right.
and I was kind of pulling for Mickey. He's an Ole Miss guy, but at the same time, and the Cubs, how can you kind of not pull for them? My son sent me a text last night. He's in college now, and he said, "Hey, did you play with any of these guys?" I said, "Yeah, the coaches and the announcers." I said, all these guys are a lot younger than me, but and Francona was a coach over in Texas with us, and so I guess I had more connection to those guys. But I mean, how do you not pull for the Cubs? My wife was pulling for the Cubs. Everybody was pulling for the Cubs.
That's great. Well, Jay, I thought it was great for Major League Baseball. I know you saw some of the ratings. On Sunday, they smoked the Cowboys and the Eagles, and that's with the Cowboys at 6-1 with Dak. Beat them by 32%. So I know MLB has to be excited about the postseason, and the Red Sox and the Dodgers and the Cubs getting in there gave it a lot of sizzle. Well, hey, man, I hope everything's going well with you. I can't thank you enough for your insight and wonderful conversation this morning. Hope you're doing well, and we'll catch up again soon.
No problem, Bo. Always a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Jay Powell, World Series.